Well, we've come somewhere different again today. We're in Palma, but a different area of Palma. We're in Son Moix at the moment, and we're just going to make our way around. There's a park we want to visit, and then some other interesting things that we might see on the way. Where we're standing, we're actually on quite a high piece of ground, and look over, and in front of us we've got the main cemetery of Palma. It's quite a big cemetery here. And then next to the cemetery is Palma Arena. It's actually a velodrome, so it's where they do the cycling competitions. We went a few years ago there to see Deep Purple. That was a very loud concert. One of the things we've come to see here is actually this park which runs down here, and it's a park which we quite often bring our grandchildren to. So we'll go down, we'll have a closer look at the park, and then we'll just walk into the city of Palma. During the first of the lockdowns last year, all these parks were closed off so children didn't use them. But some vandals did actually get in one night and set fire to the castle. Made big news in the newspapers at the time, so I was curious to find out what had happened since. And the good news is it looks as though it's been built bigger and better. So the new castle, similar to the old one, it was always really quite impressive, has been rebuilt. It's all fenced off at the moment. They're still doing some work on it, but it is a great place for children to come and play. And this is a huge expanse area. There's grassed areas over here, kids out playing football. In the summer month, people will bring a blanket and lie on have a picnic. There is a bar just behind the castle there, and there's just lots of space for all sorts of activities, people to run around. And there's even some of the exercise machines that are for adults, not for children. And then just around the corner here there was a play area which won't be in use now, but has fountains, and so in the summer that's a great place for the children to come and get very wet, but a good place for them to cool off. This area used to be referred to as the Ram, and it was almost a wasteland really. But every year it just came to life when the Easter Fair came, and so they used to set up an Easter Fair here, which was really quite exciting, lots of rides to go on. Typical Mallorquin windmill.
In Braille, but not in English.
And well, you don't know if it's in English, but there's an explanation, but it's in Braille, so you've got to feel your way through that. Well, the fair was moved to a piece of land next to the Son Castillo industrial estate, and this big area has now been developed into a park with basketball courts, tennis courts. Great place for the people of Palma. There's some more exercise equipment. Cycling's very popular here, so there's routes which include cycle routes. Skating, inline skating is also quite popular. So we just walked along there. We crossed a bridge and we've come up to a piece of high ground. So one of the things I'm in search of is the Luis Sitjar Stadium. Well, it doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be the ground of Real Mallorca, who will be playing tonight. And so just before the match we thought we might come down here, which is the original ground which I came to many years ago. I came and watched them play Chelsea. I've seen them play Atletico Madrid, Barcelona in many years gone by. I think this is where the stadium used to be. We'll go and walk around and see what else we can discover. So we managed to find a little vantage point to look down on the what remains of the Luis Sitjar. Sadly overgrown, most of it's now demolished. This is where Real Mallorca used to play their football. And on the right hand side here, that's the terracing where I used to sit many years ago. So, just like many other things in Palma, it's covered in graffiti. And, oh, this is terrible. It's called Placa Barcelona. Placa Barcelona. But this is where the entrances were to the Luis Sitjar Stadium. As you've seen on the other side, most of it's now been demolished. And they've never actually managed to decide what they're going to do with this stadium. And there's the original sign, look, it's still there, it's still legible. The Estad Luis Sitjar. So this is where Real Mallorca used to play their football before they moved to Son Moix. Son Moix was built originally as for the student games, student Olympic Games, which were held many years ago here in Mallorca. And Son Moix Stadium was where all the athletics and track events took place. And when the student Olympic Games finished, it was offered to Real Mallorca. So owned by the council, and Real Mallorca just use it, rent it, I suppose. We'll have to get the full history from our friend Monroe, who's an expert on Real Mallorca and writes for the local newspaper. So we're just walking down the, I guess would be the south end of the stadium. And there's another lovely entrance. Club Deportivo Mallorca. So the apartments on the right hand side here, whenever there was a football match, people would be coming out onto the balcony. It's not particularly a high wall, so people could see over, and if you're in these apartments you had a fantastic view of the games. In many of the videos we've said how bad some of the graffiti is. Here's a piece of graffiti I actually quite like. Some of them are works of art. I hope somebody one day can save that piece of work and save that piece of art. As you walk around Palma, there are lots of these parks. I think this is probably the biggest of them all. But they're always well looked after. And great places to come and relax. If you work in some of the offices or businesses around here, it's a great place to escape to during your lunch hour. Just walked over one of the bridges, and water flooding in there. It's all very clean. I'm not sure where that water's coming from, but it's very clean looking water, and that will run down into Palma. So Nisha's spotted a tree here.
You hear the little figs starting to grow on it.
So it's a fig tree, and the figs are just beginning. They won't be ripe for a long time, but this tree just by the side of the road is going to be full of figs later on this year. Little water feature here. Water flowing down a little rivulet. We're just getting as far as the Avenidas, which is the road that goes around the city of Palma. We're not actually going to go into Palma. Anisha just wanted to come and do some investigation about a place she's got to go to next week. So we've located that, so we're not going to go any further into Palma. What we'll do now is make our way back to the car. This is actually Real Alemanya, and on the left hand side the building is the courts, and it's also where you go to do, or used to go to do, births, marriages and deaths. I've been there twice to register 2 births. I do have to smile when I say these things because I don't know if they're actually true anymore, because this is 30 years ago when I was going to the courts here to do the registration. My son, who's had children here, managed to do all the registration in the hospital. The shop on the opposite side of the road, Electricas Ramblas, was a place to go if you wanted a plug, a piece of wire, or anything electronic. If you wanted some transistors, or you needed some resistors or capacitors, you're building your own circuits, then that was the shop to go to. But the one next door is the law courts. And
That's where I'll get off, won't it?
Mummy, and Anita's spotted where she gets off the bus. So just going up this street towards our car now. We've got quite a walk to do. But I did find it strange when I came to Mallorca, and this is actually named Jesus Street, if you like, Carrer de Jesus. I always found it a little bit strange that they name places like that. It's not something I'm familiar with, being from Stoke-on-Trent. As we walk up this street, here's a school. I'm guessing the children call it cell block something. It does very much look like a prison block. But this one is actually Luis Vives. It's a private school here in Mallorca. I mentioned in one of the videos that our bins get emptied every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But this is how it all works. We have a green bin for bottles, a blue bin which is for paper and carton, and then the yellow bin for plastics, and then the grey bins over there for general rubbish. The grey bins will get emptied every day, including Christmas Day. They don't stop here. I don't know if we're just lucky because we live in Palma, or how general that is through the rest of the island, but it means our streets are very clean. We're just in a back street of Palma, and there's no rubbish, there's no litter. Everything is very well kept. Just look down to this little river and notice some ducks having their siesta. We just come back into the big park. We're just going to have a little walk through there and then head back to our car. I've just been reminded as I've been walking along that road that most of Palma now has become a 30 km/h zone. So if you're driving in Palma and you haven't been here for a while, do beware that it is 30 km/h, which seems very, very slow in parts. It's not all of the roads, so you just need to be mindful and check what the speed limit is where you're driving. And I did read in the paper today that they've started to put up some speed cameras. They're a relatively new invention in Mallorca. There's never been very many, but we seem to be getting more and more now. And while talking about speeds and speed limits, again, for those of you who hire cars or drive here, when you next come to Mallorca and you're driving along the ring road, the road that goes around Palma, on most of that now the speed limit has changed to 80 km/h, which is about 50 miles an hour. which I did think seemed a little bit slow for a 3-lane motorway, but having driven along it a couple of times, it doesn't seem too bad, and most people are abiding by the new speed limits. But there's no other cars on the road, it's easy to forget that the speed limit is 80, so do be careful. There are lots of reminders, lots of signs up there, but just be mindful of it. So earlier on in the video we were talking about the Luis Sitjar Stadium, and Mallorca moved to the current one, which is Son Moix. And normally on a day like today we'd be preparing to go and watch the match. They're playing at 9 o'clock tonight, but it's away, so we wouldn't be coming here. But we'd be going to the Mallorca Cafe, because that's where we come to watch the away matches if we don't actually go with the team to the ground. So we'll be supporting Mallorca tonight, and it's on free-to-air television, I'm told, Gold TV. So I don't know if you can get that outside of Spain, but Gold TV have got the match on live, and it's free to watch. So if you're a Mallorca supporter, that's where you need to go this evening. We'll be there. Hope you're there with us. So if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
And Visca Mallorca.